everyone. It's me, Blaze.
Okay, we are starting. I'm gonna have to walk in front of the thing.
Yeah,
so
fine.
let's just go like that. And excuse me, guys. It's me, Alexis. So we are starting our official
First episode.
first ever episode of Coven Corner. Welcome.
Welcome, guys. So we're here today as two witches who have been in the craft for some time that just like to talk about all the witchy stuff we learned over the years.
Yes, I personally have been witching it since I was 12, and I'm old hat now. So it's been about 20 years since I've been diving deep into my practice, and I feel like just a bit less, or just a little bit more of a baby than I am. But you have also been practicing for a minute, correct?
That's right, but not as long as you have. I would say that magic and witchcraft has always been something that's been around me, but something that was heavily shaped. So about 10 years, I would say, I've been perfectly going into my craft. And prior to that, it was just something that was like a hidden thing that I could not be around.
I respect that. I feel like a lot of us have come along the craft in that manner, where someone has said, don't do that, or you know that's not allowed in our thought process. And
we're Christian. We only care about the blood of Christ.
Shame thus forth. All right, so today, what are we talking about today? Today, our first ever episode, we're covering liminal spaces and crossroads.
So when you think of liminal spaces and crossroads, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Literal definitions. I'm very left-brained sometimes. So when you say crossroad, I literally think about a fork in the road. That's what I'm thinking about. Literal spaces. Yeah, but that's kind of definitely not all of the picture here. And
I was thinking
just the beginning.
On my way here, how we've had to reinterpret the crossroads idea or the concept as we progress through time. I always wondered, what were crossroads naturally? What was a natural crossroad? Did we have those, or is that something that came with industrialization?
I definitely feel that there's natural crossroads. As people evolved and settled, I absolutely feel that they started branching out and making paths, footpaths and stuff, and there would eventually be naturally made crossroads, you know?
Right. Just people going about their lives.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
True. When I think of crossroads, the first thing I think of is just vacant, dark, empty spaces that are supposed to have people in them, but usually there's not. There's an entity there that's not necessarily human, but not necessarily evil or demonic either. It just is.
Okay, an energy.
Yeah.
Holding that space.
Right, like Ilegua or Hecate.
For me, that's a liminal space.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a liminal space is.
Right.
Let me get you real quick with the liminal space. Comes from Latin, liminal, meaning a threshold, a space or place of transition. So this is where the word comes from, which is pretty much self-explanatory. It's this space, right? So sometimes the crossroads can feel like a liminal space, where you're in this space and it feels like this transitionary place.
Absolutely. I was thinking of this as I was researching the origins of Hermes, and prior to his canonization into being I guess you could say one of the canon gods of the Greek religion. And before that, he was just a stone marker at the end of roads that you would see with the erect phallus, and that's what he was. That's Hermes in these piles of stones.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
That's amazing. So he's the originator of crossroad marking, basically.
Essentially, and it's so interesting that this figure, who is by definition a liminal space, a liminal figure, then becomes a messenger of the gods. And we find that a lot of entities that inhabit the space are messengers. So what does that say about liminal spaces?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Hermes is Mercury?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So absolutely. This is messenger energy. That is absolutely what it is. It's and the hi Charles. Okay, so this messenger energy, hi. You see somebody else in here. This is what this is supposed to be for. I'm supposed to be moderating, but you know. But this messenger energy from Hermes, Mercury, is not just like sending an email, a message. It's really originated as connecting with another realm, sending messages to places that are outside of this particular space, out of your space. So very powerful there. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like these liminal spaces, these crossroads, kind of like function like a net, like the cross sections when a net comes together.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And like, but it's energetic. So we don't necessarily have the concept of a fourth or fifth dimension. We only see things in 3D or 2D.
Mm-hmm.
But the liminal space is just like a cross section of that net of connectivity. So, hey, Hermes is right here, but he also has aspects in Tote and Hermes Trismegistus and Elequa and many other figures who are very much like him.
Yeah. Psychopomps.
Psychopomps, yes.
Yeah. Do we know what that is?
Does anybody know what a psychopomp is?
I think, well, that's a term given to a being that is essentially an energy that transitions other things. So it can literally be a spirit that helps physical human energy transition to the next realm. It could be just an energy being that moves you into different dimensions of whatever kind. But psychopomp is a term that is given to these beings, these deities, that's what they're known for.
Right. They're usually chthonic or like death or underworld related. So that's what chthonic means. It means like underworld death.
Say it again.
Related. Chthonic.
Chthonic.
Yes.
Learn words, guys.
Hermes was originally a chthonic entity, and so was Dionysus.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
And that was surprising to me because, you know, God of Wine, you don't necessarily think of him as death and chthonic.
It's
and
very,
darkness,
yes. Mm-hmm.
But he is
It's
absolutely
like revelry and fun. Where's the dying? But it's also celebrating a transition, celebrating this death and dying process into something else, and acknowledging that and honoring those spaces. So
absolutely.
Hence the wine.
Hence the wine. And like, it isn't until like, I think post-classical Greece, don't quote me guys, it's been quite a few years since I did art history, but he kind of was this dark, scary entity that was wild and untamable, and he just slowly became just a party dude. Because he and what's his face, Aidoneus or Hades, as you guys know him, were kind of inexorably the same. They were kind of the same person. They were both called Zagreus or Zeus of the underworld at some point.
Interesting.
Right.
I'm learning mad new stuff.
And it isn't until like, I want to say like middle classical Greece that they kind of get torn apart and become two separate entities.
We see that all across many different cultures and religions, this use of one being having several identities, right? I don't know why they completely separate as time moves on. People, society, whatever.
Control. Because his, Dionysus's cult was known for being quite violent and disruptive. They would go on, the Maenads would go on these quests where they would just get blasted drunk and cause all sorts of mayhem and destruction.
Okay.
And if you guys didn't know, the wine we have today is not nearly as alcoholic as it was back then. So the wine we had back then would get you fucked up to the point of like hallucinations.
Doing some underworld shit.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened to Orpheus. He got ripped apart by the Maenads because he like happened upon their celebration.
Yeah, so you got to be careful with that. But a transitionary energy for sure. Honestly, that also makes me think another liminal space, because by the way, liminal spaces and crossroads, like you might have picked up on, don't necessarily have to be a physical location, right? So sobriety.
So yeah, that is a liminal space.
And not being in that sober state, being in the in-between of sober and tossed. That's a liminal space.
Absolutely.
So
if you
yeah,
look
we're-
at it that way, just upon waking is a liminal space.
Oh, for sure, for
and
sure.
just before you sleep is another liminal space.
Certain emotions can also be liminal spaces. Sometimes you get yourself into a liminal space emotionally to do some type of ritual or spell work because you can't really be left brain or right brain with it. You have to be like in the middle.
So liminal spaces are inherently grounding, you could say.
True story. Yes.
So in saying that, we're right in the middle of the eclipse season. This entire thing just feels like just one big hallway to me.
Facts. I definitely agree that it feels like a transition, a shifting energy, and I'm in the middle. That's how I've felt for like the last month.
Oh
to be
yeah,
honest. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
It feels like parts of myself, parts of the narratives that I really believed are slowly being ripped away. And not because I'm choosing to rip them away, but they're being taken away from me. They're being pushed. I'm being pushed another part of that space.
I have to say that I feel like that's happening for a lot of us.
Yes, it is.
We are being pushed into places that feel very uncomfy, very outside of our comfort zone, or pushed up against it to a point where we have to decide, all right, is it gonna just be this shit forever, or am I gonna have to change and transition? We're all in a freaking liminal space right now.
Oh my gosh. Chelsea said it best yesterday, and she was saying it's like we're in the middle of a contraction right now.
Ooh.
And I was thinking,
Painful.
Yeah,
But I
like-
can't wait till it freaking ends.
right. And like when I think of the vagina, like the actual vaginal canal, that is a liminal space
Oh,
because
hell yeah.
the baby goes through that so it can be birthed out the vulva of the vaginal hole.
You either in the uterus or you're born in real life, and that liminal space of the vaginal canal brings you to this reality.
And it hurts to
Absolutely.
get out. That's why we don't
Look at that
remember
shit.
being born.
Transitions are not easy. They're not supposed to be easy. They're supposed to be thought-provoking and pushing and just, they kind of suck. No, not all transitions suck. No, that's not true. But when there is an uncomfortability that's associated with the shift of your transition, it's palpable, it's uncomfortable, and therein lies the choice. Like, are you going to stay there in that uncomfortability, or are you ready to push forth?
Right, because the liminal space will close all around you and suffocate you until you choose to be born. We are given the chance to be born on our own terms during times like this. And it's only when we're fucking up and not acknowledging that we need to move forward where the universe is like, okay, time to get kicked downstairs now.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's definitely shifting us.
Mm.
We're all feeling that.
Oh man. In preparation for our retreat this weekend, it's going to be really, really huge.
The retreat's going to be, I feel like, life altering for some of us. Like,
yeah.
it's really going to, I feel like that whole building is a liminal space. Doesn't it feel like that? It's
Yes,
like
it
old and
does.
weird and in the middle of nowhere and
Ghostly.
very. There's 100%. There's ghosts there. If you guys haven't registered to sign up for that retreat, you're missing out on like a literal haunted ghost hotel.
We're probably going to film an episode of like Paranormal Hunters with Witches. So it's going to actually have ghosts there.
I am not opposed to that.
I'm
I'm
spirit
excited
board, so
for
let's
that.
go.
Full moon and Taurus during an eclipse. Yeah, Chelsea, that makes a great point. We're wilding, going out there.
And you have two Taurians with you. Rest in peace.
Ooh.
We're going to be bouncing off the walls.
It feels good though. It feels very like feminine energy, like rehash.
Absolutely. Would
Yeah.
you consider feminine energy or the divine feminine in general in space by nature?
My brain said gender nonconformity is the liminal space.
Ooh, yes. I like that.
That is the liminal space because we have the either or, the masculine, the feminine.
The duality.
Mhm.
I see.
Mhm. That's where I went immediately. But it can be, I feel, just because of the fact of the ostracization of women for so long.
Right.
You kind of don't want to be a woman sometimes, and that puts you in this weird space to begin with. Oh, you're a girl? Okay, you're already in a weird space.
Right.
So
Which is, it's not interesting. It's frustrating to me because biologically and even in antiquity, in history, women are seen as like the most perfect types of beings ever. And if you guys are unaware and not that well versed in biology, when you are in utero, you are female.
Everyone's a female.
Till like the Y chromosome kicks in and you get a penis. And some people never happens.
That's why everyone has nipples. Because nipples are a mammary gland. They're meant to feed the child that comes from you. So I don't think men need to do that. They don't birth, and so they don't need nipples. They don't need them. They're just there because we start off as females. Absolutely correct, yeah.
And in some way, just having the nipples feels more human. I don't know how well versed you guys are in anime, but I was watching Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
And the main character is a cyborg. And you see the beginning of her in the liminal space being born or created, her whole entire human body. At the very end, they put her
She's a man, though.
Yeah, she's a woman, but she doesn't have attachments to her femininity or humanity because she is.
But isn't that Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah.
Not a feminine energy? I feel like it's a cross in there somewhere.
You know, that's a great way of looking at it because the original intention was that she is just a spirit inside of like a shell as a body. That's not really human, right? And she kind of has these things on her body to make her look more like a human, like the nipples. She does not need nipples.
I feel you.
But she has them.
Yes.
Because it makes her feel more human. The reason she has skin
all
makes her
this
feel more human.
Star Trek data Android stuff is coming up to me now, but that's very nerdy and very dated. So I'll keep those references to myself.
Those are like perfect examples because androids are liminal spaces. They're not inherently masculine.
Facts. Yeah, absolutely. They are. Ooh, AI.
Ooh, AI.
AI is a weird ass liminal space that we almost have to. I don't want to say be careful because I don't want to generate fear because that's not my intention. But I want to say we have to be aware of. We have to be aware of facts. Respectful. It's a force now, and it's out there, and it's a different place. It's hard to trust.
It's only hard to trust because human nature isn't inherently trustworthy, and we make the technology.
So where is AI getting the most of its information from? From the very incorrect internet, from the very biased, and racist, and judgmental internet, where we let people run rampant. I'm not saying we shouldn't freedom, but to an extent. And the weird space that has birthed AI just made. I anticipate it to get better.
I want to hope that it could get better, but my understanding of humanity leads me to believe that eventually AI, or it's already happening, AI is being used to fight their wars. AI is being used to destroy governments, undermine democracy.
We hold you dear in our hearts, but where are you? Like
democracy is a liminal space.
Yo.
Oh my god.
Oh, government is a liminal space.
Honestly, this entire, I don't want to get into it because it's been very upsetting for me, but this whole Hamas-Israel thing, another liminal space. And it feels like the space is like reflecting exactly what happened in the First World War. I don't want to say beat for beat, that's what's happening, obviously not, but a lot of the things are checking the boxes, these atrocities.
Not to mention, I don't know the astrological specifics, but many planets are where they were when World War II started.
Why aren't we right now in this space? This is a liminal space, I guess you could say. We can like argue that. Why are we not acknowledging that we're currently at the precipice of another World War? 100%.
I feel like our generation, maybe the 3 generations, like a few groups of humans on this planet now are in this liminal space. I've said it since I was a kid. I felt that this era we are in is extremely transitory. It's in the middle of things. The amount of how technology has sped up in the last 50 years. I mean, my mother, she's 67, was born with black and white TVs. And now she has a whole
TV in her pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And that's
50 years.
Computers.
That's an extremely weird liminal space. That's a transitionary phase that humanity has never, ever seen before. We are absolutely in this place.
And the growth has been like so exponential. Because the computer from 5 years ago is not going to run like the computer right now.
Oh, hell no. That's why you gotta throw your shit away every 3 years. I mean, that's part of the gimmick.
Planned obsolescence and all that.
Technological waste, like, oh my God, let's not even get into that. But yeah,
I think humans are, because like we're advancing so fast because we have functioned from a liminal space for so long.
I feel you. We're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to come out on the other side. We're ready to be
Some of
birthed.
us are. Some of us want us to stay or go back.
Some of us are. Some of us are. I don't know. There's so many stories and cultures across the world that it's like there's going to be a time period where spiritually people evolve and some are ready and some won't be ready. And the story varies as to what happens to those people that are not ready. But it is very interesting, this space that we're in right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was actually not sure of the name of the tribe, so please do not quote me, guys. But there was a Native American tribe in the Midwest who was quoted as saying, like, there's going to be a big black snake that will run through our territory and poison our land and our water and kill our people.
Oh,
and
you mean
the destruction of our everything.
Yeah, you mean the oil pipes, the pipelines. You mean
exactly.
The snake-like oil pipelines that have destroyed our nature and our lands and the indigenous people's lands? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And exactly what they said would happen, happened. Because their dreams, these prophecies they received are yet another liminal space that we can tap into but choose to ignore. And that's not all of us, obviously. We know exactly who's ignoring this liminal space. It's the people who believe the present is the only thing that matters.
What's the practicality of a liminal space for someone who practices, I mean, a nature-based religion, Wicca, any type of, who calls themselves a witch or a spiritualist? Why should we care about that?
I see liminal spaces as like the proverbial womb. Like we can shed ourselves into it. We can die there. We can give offerings there.
The biggest liminal space, life and death, right?
Exactly.
That transition between life and death. Yeah.
Because living, you could say, is the liminal space, and then death and life are the two doors.
I'm reminded of something Einstein said, might not have said, because you know the internet. It's something along the lines of continuing to do the same thing is insanity. And in order to make a change or change your environment, your circumstances, etc., you need to try something different. And I feel like a liminal space serves for that purpose, especially as someone who practices a witchcraft or any type of spiritual-based religion. I feel like if we're trying to solve a problem, like literally crafting and doing some type of ritual, we cannot come from the same space that the problem originated from. That's insane.
Right.
How can we transition or shift the energy if we're still here? We need this intermediary space to move from.
Like zero. Zero being the liminal space between like real numbers and not real
You
numbers.
know, my numerology beings tingled when you said zero.
Oh, tell us about
like,
it.
Zero, the womb, the void, the space where all things originate. Absolutely zero is a liminal space. It's a liminal space digit, but it's also representative of sacredness and holiness and divinity and the origination of creator source energy.
Ooh, yes.
So a strong liminal space, a very important one for sure. But yes, zero.
Zero is. And like, I love that as much as we're speaking about metaphysics and mythology here, a lot of liminal spaces are very secular, like school, like what's it called? I just was thinking about it earlier. Hallways, going like between cemeteries.
Oh, cemeteries, yes. I had that in my little notes right here. Which other one? Cemeteries, cemetery gates, like the border between, beaches.
Beaches are absolutely liminal spaces.
Between land and sea, that transitionary space. Not to mention that the waves generate an alpha wave frequency, which kind of brain hacks your brain into falling into a meditative yet conscious state. So it actually is very conducive to energy work and ritual work, stuff like that.
Is that why the sea at night terrifies me?
That shit's scary. Like that shit, you respect the ocean. The sea at night terrifies me too.
I wouldn't even go near her.
Generally, the sea and being at the shoreline calms me extremely.
Yeah.
What other liminal places? Beaches. I mean, I said that. Bridges. Literally.
Highways.
A place between two places. Samhain. Holidays.
Samhain is absolutely a liminal space holiday.
Halloween, basically. So the Celtic word Samhain, but Halloween, Dia de Muerto, any type of there's so many other terms from different cultures that I'm drawing blanks on that are the same thing. It's essentially the same thing at the same time period. Northern Hemisphere belief systems, because it has to do with our agricultural season and that being a harvest time and reaping the last harvest and kind of giving thanks and gratitude to those who come before us so that we're able to do so. The thinning veil of the season is an indicator of this liminal space.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Celts, I learned semi-recently that the Vikings, Celts, and the Sami people, that's the indigenous folks of Europe, they received all their ancient wisdom from the Sami tribe before they were eliminated by the Anglo-Saxons during the Crusades.
Interesting.
And it was because the Romans, or as we know, the Crusaders, the Christians, it's because they killed off the Sami people that the Vikings went crazy and started killing them.
Because they praised them as sacred people.
Exactly. The Sami were sacred, venerated people. They were holy people. They were not a warmongering type.
Right.
So then these Christians come in, burn down their settlements, destroy everything, kill them off, genocide. And the Vikings are like, oh, now we have to rape and pillage and kill you.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the Vikings are the ones that are bad guys.
Well, obviously, it's been Christian washed.
Isn't that shame?
Were you raised Christian? Did you say
I was raised Catholic?
Yeah, so was I. Okay, so we're not hating, all right? Because we've been there. I read the Bible front and back.
Right.
And I respect many aspects of it, but when people in power use these things to control, that's when I'm like, I'm out of here.
Exactly. Not to mention Christianity or any Abrahamic religion in of itself is a liminal space, because they're borrowing messages and wisdom from older parts of that religion and then changing it for their own means.
100%.
Right.
Osiris was a Jesus figure. Created miracles out of nowhere, died at 33, rose 3 days later. Like
Mithras was the same, born of a virgin, born on December 25th, died, was resurrected, and came back for his followers.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so many Jesus Christ figures over time, because Christ wasn't supposed to be one being. It was supposed to be a concept. The sin wasn't that we killed a man. The sin was we killed someone who was speaking nothing but love and justice and healing to the world. But Christendom has bastardized that and changed it into being like, we need to see this man as the end-all be-all of God. Yeah.
A topic for another time, because that brings me to the masculine and the feminine, and the way that these two, the upward triangle and downward triangle, how telling it is of the dynamic of patriarchal-based religion systems as opposed to matriarchal-based religion systems. And it's like a pyramid scheme, guys. Mm-hmm. There's one person at the top and then everybody else down here. You can never reach that space unless you do all the things they tell you to do, because only this one thing is holy up here, as opposed to the feminine version where we bring all that holy down and into this manifested realm. Side topic though.
Side topic.
Writing that down for next time.
Absolutely. That's my favorite topic, because I learned about the blade and the chalice for the first time in Da Vinci Code.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another liminal space. The Holy Grail.
Well, that kind of references back to like
What we were talking
yeah,
about.
what we were talking about earlier with the female body and being that transitionary place.
Space, yeah.
How do we connect with or bond with if we're trying to find a liminal space, or if a ritual calls for a crossroads or a liminal space? What do we do? How do we use it?
Honestly, how I've used it in the past and as of late has been trying to find crossroads that are semi like near me. So I'll find a back
Practical.
road. There's a like literal crossroad behind my building. I'll go there,
Nice.
do my stuff, and then I'm great. Another place that I think is a little space and kind of like a crossroads is reservoirs, rivers, trees, especially trees at the ends of streets. Those are liminal spaces.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes we can't get outside, or we don't want to, or we're just not able to, given circumstances, and that's why we mentioned how liminal spaces can also be states of mind, meditation, alpha wave frequency, theta wave frequency, even as well, because that's related to our dream state, and being able to go into those states by listening to those frequencies puts us in those spaces. So you don't have to physically go to a scary crossroads at the middle of the night. You could, but you can also create that type of space, that type of energy in your own sacred environment.
Right. And if push comes to shove, you really don't have access to discard your spell remains in a liminal space / crossroads, you can make your dreams be that for you, because they are yet another liminal space that you utilize literally every day.
True story. Where does that stuff go? You don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a liminal space.
Right.
It's born someplace else, and it turns into something else. So yeah, absolutely. You can get creative with it. Don't feel like you have to go find yourself a crossroads right now to do some magic in order for it to work. That's not at all what we're saying. It's more of a state of mind and a place of being than a physical location.
Right. Like how we view God. God doesn't necessarily quote unquote exist. We create the concept of it, and the energy of us believing its existence creates God.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you are physically going to actual spaces, liminal spaces, or crossroads, we can connect with those environments with just meditating in their space, leaving offerings for the nature beings in the space. Because sometimes I feel like if you're going to go do your thing in a spot and you didn't not ask the native indigenous spirits or the nature spirits or the elementals there for permission, I feel like you just kind of have to like sweeten the deal if you know.
You have to be polite.
Yes,
you just
respectful.
Yeah,
If
that's where they live.
If there's garbage in the area before you start, pick some shit up. Like, make sure you don't leave anything disrespectful and dirty when you're finished. Yeah, so different ways to connect with the spaces to really make them your own.
How did we not say this before? Altars are liminal spaces.
Oh shit, duh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These are things that we create in our own homes or our own sacred spaces to bridge that gap, to help us connect with spirit. And that's not a physical thing. That's a different realm. So we are absolutely using an altar as a liminal space, as a crossroads.
You can even argue that yourself is a liminal space if you are someone who divines, because you need to be that channel.
That's what I'm saying. You got to get into that mental liminal
Yeah.
space in order to do work. You can't come from an egoic place, or you can't bring your problems that you've had all day to your, especially if you're working with others. Like the work we do, we have to take moments before we see anybody to get into some other space, because I can't bring my bullshit to the table for you.
Absolutely.
I cannot divine from ego.
Mhm.
So, because I'm going to start telling you about my life stories and how I think that you should leave that dude, because you feel me? We have to be in a different space to best serve.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you made a great point there. Like, as readers, as diviners, you cannot sit here and tell anybody how they should be healing themselves. All you can do is be that reflection, be that liminal space, so they can go through that door and be birthed by themselves.
Yeah, we don't do anything. We're just channels. We're absolutely liminal spaces.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think of right now, but the overall message for me for this eclipse is surrender. Surrender to the contractions, to the pushes, to the moving.
That makes the Virgo in me cringe. I'm like, surrender to. I need to control all things. Okay, no, that's absolutely the message. That's absolutely the message.
Spirit has been forcing my ass to surrender as much as I don't want to do it.
That's what I'm saying about being pushed up against the rock in the hard space. Like it's an uncomfortable push, and we must surrender because what comes next, it's like a birth. Like we don't know. We have to hope that what our desires are in alignment and manifesting for us because we're right there. And that's why I feel so tight and uncomfortable right now. We're about to be birthed, bro.
We are. The end of this year, I don't want to tell you guys, oh my God, it's so tragic and crazy, but do expect many things to shift for you in ways that you did not expect.
This is a universal 7 year. I'm going to leave it on this note. This intuitive, introspective year. This is why everything is happening this year because we have to come inside and check with ourselves.
That's
like,
my soul urge number. That makes so much sense.
That's my power number. I'm born on the 7, so it's extremely heightened energy to make you check yourself and not like listening to all the media and the other people talking shit. No. This is about going inward and truly trusting yourself. Is this your game plan? Have you set that path? You know, have you said everything you need to do to succeed with that outcome? Then it's time to fucking throw your hands up in the air and let go and let God. Like it's time to surrender.
Literally
you have to trust. You have to trust. That's universal 7 number. And the culmination of the year, the ending of the year, that's the time when you're gonna have to be like, fuck it then. I trust.
Leave it at the altar, guys. You are the first guru, as my beloved Pandita Pratima says. No one is going to tell you how to heal. And if they are, they're not actually trying to heal you. They're trying to
that's ego talking.
Yeah, what's the word? I recently had this happen to me where someone was trying to talk to me like I didn't know what the hell I was talking about or what I was doing. I was like, excuse me? I'm an earth sign. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. We're grounded up in this space, okay?
Right.
All right, guys. So thank you for joining us. That was our very first episode of Coven Corner, speaking on liminal spaces and crossroads. I'm Alexis.
I'm Blaze. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in the next time. Maybe next month is when we're going to drop the next one.
We're trying to do it every third Sunday.
Yeah, every third Sunday.
We'll try. Yeah. We'll do it. We got you.
But please drop in the chat what things you want us to talk about. We have a ton of things, but we want to know from you.
Yeah. I think this was a good one for this time period, for the thinning veil, for Halloween and all that jazz, and just helping people understand how what the hell it even is and how it pertains to your own practice.
Right. Also, don't hesitate to ask us questions about all the terms we just dropped. I know there was quite a lot, but believe me, we will enjoy telling you.
This is where magic meets mind. That's why that's our slogan, because we're going to drop a lot of words. But please, if you have any questions or comments, drop it below and we'll get back to you. Thank you guys so much.